I just learned something new. This is amazing. I Googled what year Italy became a country. June 2nd, 1946 is when Italy became a country? That can't be right. No, that's not right, is it? That's really when Italy became a country? How could that possibly be right? I mean, I know that Israel didn't become a country until 1948, but really that's when Italy, seriously, Italy, I'm going to type it in again. Italy became a unified country. Okay, let's do that. All right. Okay. The formation of the modern Italian state began in 1861 with the unification of most of the peninsula, okay, etc. All right. So, best case scenario, Italy as we know it has been a nation, best case scenario, since 1861. Okay? Let's do the math. The United States has been a country since 1776. Okay? So, the United States has been a nation for nearly 100 years before Italy. I didn't know that. That's news to me, and I know. What's the number one comment that I receive on my videos? Nick, you're so ignorant. You don't know anything. The American school system totally failed you. What a pity. They didn't teach you history. Okay, so that's the number one comment that I get on that. So if you wanna, if it makes you feel better about yourself to say that in the comments, please do. I want you to have that moment. But I'm telling you, I have now recently learned that Italy is a younger country than the United States. And when I think of the United States, I think of a relatively young country, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the world. But Italy is younger than the United States. Let me just process that. And of course, that only reinforces so many of the subscribers and viewership I get on this channel is from those videos I made with my mom. You know, my mom at age 59, she's 60 now, but at 59, she took her DNA test, and learning that despite her grandfather moving here from Italy, her father, in theory, was 100% Italian, you know, because his father moved here, went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and they had like what, 11 kids? My grandfather was one of them. They were 100% tied back to Italy. So my mom, her whole life, I'm half Italian is what she believed. And then, and I made the video and I shared it in real time. I revealed her DNA test results, and she was amazed to learn that she's only 4.5% Italian. And more than anything from that side of the family, 15.2% Sephardic Jewish, and 14.1% West Asian, which goes back to Iran, Iraq, Turkey. So basically, my mom's Middle Eastern. When it comes down to it, my mom is Middle Eastern on her father's side, coming in from Italy. But it only reinforces the fact, if Italy is a younger country than the United States, it is kind of silly to even think that your DNA is that you're Italian. That doesn't really even make sense, because it's such a young country to begin with, and ultimately it's just proving that if you're Italian and you take a DNA test result, I'd be amazed if you were mostly Italian, because Italian is kind of a social construct the same way that race in general is a social construct. So if you're Italian, you take a DNA test, you're probably like my mom, you're probably part Jewish, you're probably part, as I would say, Middle Eastern, Greek, Iberian. You're probably those things, because Italy is a young country. And it's funny, it's funny that we put so much stock in certain DNA test results and going back to certain countries when ethnicity is not exclusive to a certain nation. And yet, I guess the ultimate irony is Basque people. Basque people have been around before there was France, before there was Spain. There were the Basque people who fall on both sides of France and Spain. Those people, their DNA in theory is ancient. They have been around before countries existed for the most part. And if it weren't for YouTube videos like this one and people are talking about Basque people, it's like that's probably one of the best genetic markers you could find. Yet no one's asking that much about, I wonder how Basque I am. No one is saying that, but they want to find out how Italian they are. And it was definitely a cultural shock for my mom to learn at age 59 that this whole concept of being Italian was a cultural one. It was a historical one, but it wasn't really about ethnicity or DNA, which just goes back to the whole thing that, imagine the irony that I have this channel largely about DNA test results and ethnicity and all these things, when it's all kind of an interpretation. In the same way, and one of the things I talk about is, without religion or law, there's no way to define what morality is. You can't say, here's a good person and who's a bad person without the law and without religion. It's basically impossible to do that. Because in our minds, we still think, well, that person's a bad person because they did that. And that person's a good person because they did that. But ultimately, it comes down to our own relative viewpoint that's ultimately based on, well, what's legal around here? And if you're a religious person, well, here are my personal convictions based on my religion. It's all relative, just like our perceptions of race. Italy is a younger country than the United States. Your comments belong right here.